Hello, and on the gaming table today we're taking a look at yet another test of Ork Warz, this time with a real opponent. So I had a friend of the family come around, a young 11-year-old girl, and she decided she wanted to have a game of Ork Warz with me. So I thought this is a good chance to try it out with someone who's not done wargaming before. She has played a few games of Dungeons & Dragons, but I think if you've played Dungeons & Dragons as an 11 or 12-year-old, you remember how much tactics was involved. Not a lot, really. And so I thought this would be a good chance to try out the rules, see how quickly she picks things up, and use that as a bit of feedback for developing the rules further. So here you can see that she is on the right and I'm on the left. I decided to give her 6 orcs versus my 4. When you're playing Dungeons & Dragons as a youngster, usually you outnumber your opponents, and so I thought, well, let's make it familiar to her and also give her a chance to win, right? Why not? And so here we just started moving in kind of a meeting engagement scenario, and that gave her a chance to try things out as she's picking up the rules and how things work. So here she's taking good advantage of cover, and we're starting to trade a couple of long-range shots at this stage. A little bit of long-range shooting was good to figure out the mechanics so she could understand what was going on through trial and error without there being a lot of consequences, because for long-range shots, especially with all the cover involved here, it's actually kind of hard to get a result, but it explains the mechanics as we do things. However, there she'd figured out that she could sneak up a bit closer to me and shoot me in the side there. That orc that just went down is armed with a sword and shield, so he really had to get close to be able to engage in anything useful, and she promptly shot him down. Now, he might have a chance to recover. He's down, but not out yet. Let's see what happens next. And so at this stage, after having had a few actions with her orcs, she was starting to figure out how the dice worked and how the mechanics worked. And it is a very narrative sort of system, so it's basically just bonuses for things that are good for you, penalties for things that are bad, and then there's some dice rolled as a result of that. And so it got to the point now where rather than me telling her what the modifiers are, I was asking her, okay, so what's good and what's bad here? And she could figure it out for herself. And so here you can see with her orcs a little bit of the youngster D&D sort of tactics coming in. She's got a big gun line here. She's trying to shoot me down, not really putting herself in good cover, but she's basically trying to get as many shots in as she can. And to a degree, this is working for her. In the next few seconds here, I managed to get an action off that took down one of her orcs in exchange, so now we're down 1 each. But then she kept moving forward. She was pretty aggressive in how she was playing, which was fine. And she managed to take down another of my orcs here in a second. So at this stage, we were having to make morale checks to see whether one side would break and run because we both have orcs down. And so at this stage, we're about 10 or 12 minutes into the game, and so she'd figured out pretty much how things worked. She knew how the dice rolls worked, and so I was pretty happy with how fluid it was going and how quickly she'd picked things up here. That's a bit on her. She's pretty quick at picking things up, but at the same time, this is kind of trying to prove my point to myself that the rules are working. The rules are simple enough to pick up and go with. You can pick these things up quickly and run with it as a new wargamer. As we were playing along here, I was asking her basically, does this make sense when we talk about what's going on and what her bonuses and penalties are for the things that she's doing? And she was pretty happy with it. She said that it was making sense. She didn't have to think too hard. It was kind of logical. And again, that's what I'm trying to put in here as well. You don't have to think about what the modifiers are. You just look at the situation and you say, is this good? Is this bad? What's the combination of those things? And then I roll some dice as a result. And so, yeah, overall, the narrative kind of nature of the rules here is coming out well and showing that she can pick these things up and run with it, showing that it's working as a learning game. Obviously, one test like this is not sufficient data on which to form a complete conclusion, but I'm pretty encouraged by how things are going here. Anyway, as the battle was progressing here, she was getting stuck in, again continuing to play pretty aggressive, and at the end she knocked a couple of my orcs down and I failed a morale check, and so my 4 orcs would run away and then hers were victorious in this fight. But anyway, that was kind of a fun playtest through. It was good to pick up some experience of learning it. There would be a couple of small things I'd modify here, but apart from that, I'm pretty happy with how things are going. Anyway, I hope you found that a little bit interesting. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.